preparation that was, and fun and definitely a challenge.
Yeah, that warms my heart to hear you say that, because I just don't. There needs to be more gun safety, just in general. Forget about making a film. Just in general. Like, I grew up in a household of hunters, and so I've been around it, which is ironic because, like, in my real life, like, I don't need a fucking gun. Like, I'm not interested. I'm one of those people that thinks if you have one on you, trouble's more bound to start that way if you have one on you. And this is like me and my stepdad, just total opposite. And he's not like a gun nut. He just specifically uses it for hunting. There's no, and he is a stickler for gun safety. And actually, I think in a lot of ways that's kind of absent in our country right now. And I don't want to make this political. I just think the news speaks for itself in terms of what it means to have and hold a gun and exactly what you need. Do you need that AR? I don't know. I don't know. And we don't have to speak on that. I'm just saying. I got into in a playful argument, which very rarely happens anymore these days because everything is very cutthroat. But I was having a conversation with one of my friends who is, he's all for it. Get the AR, have a grenade, like, he's all for it. And I said, I just don't agree with that. And he's like, well, what's your alternative? And I was just like, what if somebody invades your house, which is, topical as we are talking here? Shoot better. You don't shoot to kill, you shoot to maim. And he was not a fan of that particular stance. And I understand that that's kind of a pipe dream, like in terms of like, oh, well, you should train everybody to be a little bit better with the gun. But with all the stuff that's going on in our country right now, like, I don't know how you could dispute it, Will. I really don't. So, again, I am not asking you to speak on that. I'll handle the flack from the, the DMs and the tweets and whatever else. I'll handle that because, at the end of the day, my opinion's my own, and I reject if someone, just have a problem with it. Oh, I said that maybe we should be better with our guns. That's what you had issue with. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, since it's a, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what you said too. That's like what a sort of intention with the film too was like to kind of, we see so many headlines of something from whatever news source you ingest, and then you make snap judgments about what actually happens to who, where, when, and why in about 2 seconds, and then you move on.
I hate
or even
it,
if you read the whole article, it's still two dimensional. So it's like, what if we just kind of strip the politics out of one of these headlines and really investigate the human elements of these three stories that kind of sort of coincide with each other around this sort of incident? And what if you really see from all three perspectives and see if that kind of gives us, maybe a little bit different, gives us a little bit of pause when we come across judging the next situation that we come across. So, it was kind of about just finding the human element, and it's inherently political, but that's been the coolest part. It's like has been the conversations after screenings, after showings, of just like talking with people about what's ethical, what's not ethical, what should our laws be around incidents like this and around firearms and private property and this and that. So I think inspiring the conversation, having the conversation, has been the sort of coolest part about the film and its impact so far.
I think another one of my favorite aspects about the film is, so you have Shirley, you have yourself, you have Jose. So I should say their character names. You have Krista, Adam, and Nito, who all live very different lifestyles. And I think, again, another one of my favorite parts of the film is just how realistic it was, how realistic the dialogue was, especially between Shirley and Jose. Like, I just thought, boy, was that warm, and it feels kind of that awkward coming into our adulthood type conversation. Like, I loved it. Those moments are so warm, but they're not cut from the same cloth. Krista is a drama student, and Jose's kind of a skateboarder, just kind of living life as it comes, because he does get mixed up with a few cats that, well, they don't make the best decisions. But I wouldn't say that they go as far as to make decisions that's out of the ordinary. You know, I think that a lot of teens, like, sometimes, you know, there's a little B&E. You know, you have a little fun. There's a little B&E. Sometimes, you know what? If you want a pack of Hot Pockets, but you don't have a job, well, you know, sometimes we make do. We make do. But all of these characters ultimately intersect, and I guess for a couple of the people that aren't cinephiles, I hate to say Crash, because like Crash is not a good movie, but in terms of how the characters are brought together, I think it's similar. In Beast Beast, but I would say Beast Beast is much more executed on a much better executed piece on a much smaller level, which should tell you how I really feel about Crash, to be honest with you. But so anyway. It's a relatively small film. It's an independent film. You're shooting in Georgia. You're with your brother, writer-director. Are you, because he's your brother, are you wearing a lot of hats in the production of the product? Are you going to hold a boom mic in between sets because your brother's like, hey, knock it off, Adam. We need you to hold this mic here. I was fortunate in that I was able to solely focus on my performance in preparation for it. We scraped together just enough cash to have, a proper sound, a couple sound guys, lighting guys, camera guys, and a couple production folks. So we had enough people doing enough things that sort of covered the bases. But that being said, I was actually technically an acting coach on the film, as we had a couple actors who had never really acted before. Jose, who plays Nito, is this circus performer. He's a sign spinning champion of the world, 2016. He is this sort of wonderful backflipping skate. He's never really had to speak lines in front of a camera. So Danny saw him and he's like, I love this guy. We got to put him in a movie. And then, so I kind of was his acting coach in a way, and just helped him kind of learn how to play and sort of free himself to work in the film. And he did an incredible job. And so in that sense, I wore a couple hats. But once we started shooting, I was lucky that I was able to really just kind of try and chew what I had bitten off to the best of my ability. But usually you always find yourself sort of, I guess, carrying a C-stand here or there, or like, helping pack up this or that cooler with Crafty or something. So, and I guess with wardrobe too, we didn't really have a wardrobe person. So it was sort of like, Lauren Wild, the hair and makeup artist, kind of helped take over that. And she was like, yeah, I'll do it too. And then, so we all kind of helped in different ways about, our character stuff. But overall, it was pretty sort of singular in what my job was, my responsibilities were. Was there ever an instance where, like, you step back in as Adam? It's kind of a silly question, but where you step back in as Adam and you're like, oh shit, like, I still got my acting coach hat on. I need to, can we run that back just a second here? Like, I'm thinking of Nito's character. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I didn't really have any scenes with Nito other than maybe one with Jose, rather. So most of the stuff that my character does in the film is him alone at his computer, or him interacting with his mother and stepfather. So it wasn't really acting, coaching, and acting on the same day per se, which was good. But yeah, it was just the kind of nature of filming that all of my stuff at the computer, which is probably 60% of what you see my character as, was all shot in the last 2 days of filming. So it was like that was impending in the background. And we shot out, Shirley, we finished her because she had to go to Harvard to start her freshman year of college. So we had to shoot her out in a week. And then we got all of Jose's stuff with all the other kids kind of running around. And then it was sort of the Adam and his parents segment of the third week of shooting to kind of round it out.
Why am I not surprised Shirley is going to Harvard? Why does that not surprise me at all?
Because she's a genius in every way, yeah. She's brilliant. And it's been really cool to connect with her again. We were screening some of we had screenings at the Laemmle in North Hollywood. We had a week of screenings. We got to sort of get back in touch with Shirley, and she's going to be going into I believe her senior year of Harvard, finally going back in person. Colleges have all been on Zoom. But she's a Harvard. She's a brilliant actor. She's just a genius. It's crazy.
Brilliant actor. Brilliant. You take her performance out of the film, and it goes from a 10 to a 7. Because I've seen you act before, Will. I know what I'm getting as I'm watching. You know what? Let's back up a little bit. You say you spent about 60% of the time being filmed in front of a computer. I don't know if anyone's told you just how goddamn effective you are just at staring at a computer, sir. I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm sitting there watching him, Adam, like he's real or anything. But I'm sitting there watching you, and I think the best actor, I don't remember which actor said, but somebody said something to the extent of Tom Hanks is the best on-screen thinker. Okay, it doesn't matter, but I'm sitting there watching you, and you can see the wheels turning. You're not saying anything, and you can see visually watching the wheels turn on your face. That's not easy to do, man. That's not. It really isn't to be able to be as effective as you were watching a screen. I know that if you've been on the show before, I'm already overly complimentary, but I'm telling you right now, Will, I'm not having you on the show if I think you stink. It's not beneficial for anyone. This show is kind of like the bane of my existence, and 2, I have no time for it. I have no time, and I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, he's doing it again, because I think I brought up when we were talking about The Wolf of Snow Hollow, one of my favorite acting moments in the entire film. I mean, obviously Jim is great throughout, but one of my favorite moments in the film is your face turn when you've been caught. And it is such a patient such a patient moment as an actor out of you. And, here we're seeing it almost amplified, because that's just a moment in Wolf of Snow Hollow, whereas these are several moments where you're by yourself. You don't, if anybody's like a theater person, you have nobody to really bounce off of other than that computer. So, and I just, again, so effective you were, sir, and as Adam. But I got to be honest, now that I've had you on twice, I'd like to see you smile. The next time you come on the show, maybe a happy Will, maybe a happy
I'm
Adam.
Happy. Happy in real life.
Well, right.
Thanks.
But I do think that you have the tools to, I think your spectrum could be pretty good, my friend. I mean, maybe I'm making a guess, and you're like in the back of your head, you're like, no, I can only actually play.
Only frown. Frown, cry, scream, and yell. Those are my 4 things I do.
Yeah. So, another question I had for you, because I've done this before, but on a much smaller level. What's it like working with your brother? Is the working relationship really good? Do you get a lot of creative freedom, or is it kind of like Noel and Liam Gallagher of Oasis, where you just butt heads constantly during the artistic process?
Yeah, it's definitely not that. I don't know how. I don't know, man. I just watched The French Connection,
Great
which
movie.
is yeah, the notorious,